What if, in a bold, unprecedented move, the entire Middle East, stretching from the deserts of Saudi Arabia to the mountains of Iran, from the Nile River in Egypt to the bustling cities of Turkey, united under a single Islamic superpower? A grand coalition including Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Egypt, Syria, Turkey, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, Lebanon, Yemen, Palestine, and Oman, all brought together under one flag, one military, one central command, and one geopolitical vision. In an instant, this union would transform the global order, controlling over 60% of the world's proven oil reserves, more than 30% of global gas supply, and the most critical global maritime choke points, the Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of the world's oil flows daily, the Suez Canal, linking Asia to Europe, and the volatile yet vital Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a key passage for trade and naval power. This superpower would command a population exceeding 600 million, stretching across 3 continents, Asia, Africa, and Europe, creating the most strategically placed empire on Earth. Militarily, they would hold unmatched regional dominance, a combined force of over 5 million active and reserve troops, thousands of battle tanks, modern air defense systems, ballistic missiles, armed drones, stealth-capable fighter jets, cyber warfare units, and likely access to nuclear support from close allies like Pakistan, or secretive cooperation with North Korea. Many of these forces would be experienced, hardened by decades of warfare in Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Libya, and Gaza. Unlike many Western conscript forces trained only in drills, the US and NATO military presence in the region, from the sprawling Al Udeid air base in Qatar to the naval bases in Bahrain and Djibouti, would suddenly be surrounded, vulnerable, and strategically trapped. Israel, now encircled, would face its greatest existential threat since 1948, with its Iron Dome and IDF forces stretched to the brink. Tel Aviv would go into total lockdown. The US would be forced into emergency high-level summits, while NATO would panic as oil prices skyrocket, economies crash, and military tensions boil over. Meanwhile, this united Middle East, armed with oil wealth, religious influence, and military might, could create an oil-backed Islamic currency, potentially replacing the petrodollar and shaking the very foundation of global finance. Aligning with BRICS nations like China and Russia, this new Islamic bloc could sideline the US-led world order and build its own trade, finance, and security architecture, one that prioritizes Islamic values, sovereignty, and resistance to Western interventionism. But while the outside world trembles, the true battle might unfold from within. The Middle East is not just a land of common religion. It is a region stained by centuries of blood feuds, tribal rivalries, and sectarian divisions. Sunni versus Shia, Arab versus Persian, monarchies versus republics, secular versus Islamist, and nationalist versus pan-Islamic visions. Could Iran and Saudi Arabia truly stand side by side after decades of proxy wars in Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon? Could Turkey suppress its imperial Ottoman dreams to align equally with Arab powers? Would Israel launch a preemptive strike to stop this alliance before it solidifies? Could the US attempt regime changes, fund insurgencies, or trigger internal revolts to divide and destabilize this alliance before it threatens its dominance? Even if unity is achieved temporarily, managing such a vast empire with conflicting agendas, foreign meddling, and massive cultural differences would be a ticking time bomb. Still, if successful, this superpower could reassert Muslim influence on the world stage like not seen since the height of the Ottoman Empire or the Abbasid Caliphate. It could defend Muslim nations from foreign invasion, shape global media narratives, dominate the arms market, and serve as a beacon of power for over 1.8 billion Muslims worldwide. It would strike fear in its enemies, hope in its allies, and confusion across Western intelligence agencies. The global balance of power would shift overnight, and the world as we know it would never be the same again. This is Time Strike. Subscribe now to prepare for more explosive what-if scenarios the mainstream won't dare to imagine.